So as we gather on this first Sunday of the new year, for many people today, Christmas is just a memory. We're back into ordinary time. We're back into a schedule that seems ordinary but busy and challenging. The joys of the holidays have left, and sometimes we're tempted to fall back into our old ways. Our ways of hopelessness, our ways of self-interest. We're tempted to place just a great big check marks next to Christmas 2017. I mean, perhaps you've taken down the tree and vacuumed up the needles, or like my family, put it back in the box. Or you've taken down the lights and placed them in the special box, and you've put them in the attic or the garage or another storage area. Or you've taken down the special ornaments and put them safely into their special boxes. Maybe you've thrown away those stale Christmas cookies, or taken them into work, or slipped them into your children's lunches, or just waited till everybody left the house and devoured them yourself. No, honey, I don't know where those cookies went. Maybe you've returned your Christmas presents and bought a sweater that fit, or perhaps you've already broken that must-have toy for the new year. Perhaps by now Christmas is over and packed up into boxes and put away for another year. I mean, I don't know about you, but as I look around our community, Christmas has to be over because every store I've gone into since December 25th looks like Valentine's Day has exploded all over them. But as we gather on this first Sunday of the new year, we gather because Christmas isn't quite over yet. Today is the final Sunday of Christmas, and we move into an exciting season called Epiphany. It's a season of beginnings, and so as we launch into this new year, we're starting a little series just called Beginnings. And we're going to look at lessons from the life of Jesus. And so Epiphany is the season, as Sherry mentioned to us, it's a season of magi, of baptisms, of God's presence in unexpected places. It's a season that recognizes the Christ child is born anew each moment, and that each moment can be an epiphany. It can be an unveiling of divinity in everyday life. Today we celebrate the Magi, the three kings. How many of you know what the three kings actually did for a living? Nobody? They were firefighters. You didn't know that? We just sang the song, They Came From Afar. New Year, same old jokes. Just checking, seeing if you're with us. So these magi that we celebrate, they came from a different country, a different region, a different religion. They practice Zoroastrianism. That's an ancient pre-Islamic religion of Iran. It's a religion which at its core believes in the ultimate victory of light over darkness. They come to worship a simple working class child, realizing that the fullness of God is not going to be found in Herod's palace. It's not going to be found in the temple in Jerusalem, but it's going to be found among the poor and the vulnerable. It's going to be found in the life of a little child whose parents are going to have to run for their lives to save their newborn son. Listen to how Matthew describes it in chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. When he called together all the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them where the Messiah was to be born. "In Bethlehem in Judea," they replied, "for this is what the prophet has written. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search carefully for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me so that I too may go and worship him." After they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star they had seen when it rose went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. Astrologers from the east, following a star that they had seen rising, had come seeking a new king. The presence of these learned men of another religion and worldview in the story of Jesus' birth should not be underrated. God includes them in the story of salvation as an affirmation of Jesus' identity as God's anointed coming king. They're an affirmation that the limits of God's action and activity is beyond any limits we might want to construct for God. God uses outsiders to affirm that Jesus' presence is as the ultimate insider, which is good news for all people. It's an affirmation that God's love transcends even the boundaries of our faith. Magi reveal the true God who has come into the world, enlightening all creation and all people. And so across the world today, Christians are celebrating the showing forth of God's light into the world. Yet as I look around me, I wonder how well that light is shining. Is the light of the star that led the Magi to the manger still as bright as it was over 2,000 years ago? Or have we boxed it up and put it into storage for another year, once again leaving our corner of the world in darkness? It seems like forever ago, but it was just 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago that we celebrated the light of God coming into the world as Jesus Christ. And once we encounter the light of God's love that was found in the manger long ago in Bethlehem, we should be different somehow. So as we begin this new year, I think we need to take the difference God has made in Jesus Christ out of storage and back into the world. I mean, it was just 2 weeks ago, but remember the shepherds. The shepherds who saw the angelic host proclaim that Christ was born, who visited the manger that Christmas night. As they returned to go back to their sheep, as they returned to the fields, as they returned to their everyday, ordinary life, they returned, as Scripture tells us, glorifying and praising God for all they had seen and heard. They returned to their fields different people. I mean, life is like that for most of us. When the holidays are over, we return to the routine of everyday lives. We return to our appointed tasks, and we look around and we just see us doing the same thing on different days. But what would it look like if we began the routine of this new year as the shepherds did, glorifying and praising God? It means to return to being more thankful for God and His goodness to us. Being more thankful for God's generosity and God's gifts, God's beauty and God's grace. It means being more aware in our hearts that Jesus Christ is a pure gift to us and that He is full of grace and peace. It means being more aware that God is with us, not just in the holiday and holy moments, but in the everyday and ordinary moments. It's through the ordinary that God works in this world. It's through the ordinary that we're called to make this world a better place by doing those things with grace and peace. Or in our gospel reading today from Matthew, where did the wise men go? The Bible tells us, after having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. I think that the wise men returned to their country as wiser people. I say they're wiser people because they were able to find God in the least likely of places. They found God in a stable, in a manger, and forever after, wise people would be alert to look for God's presence in the most unsuspecting places. Wise people should find God in the common places of their homes and their lives, at work and at school, in the ordinary routines of getting up, going out, and coming back. Wise people become wiser when they look and find the presence of God in the everyday. So as we stand on the cusp of this new year, each of us has a light to shine in the darkness, an illumination from God that can't be stored away. So as we begin this new year, I think now more than ever, it's time for us to share the Epiphany news that God has become one of us. And that the God that was born in Bethlehem, the God that died on the cross, the God that was raised from the dead is still present with us. Found at first in the humility of birth in a stable. The message and work of Christmas can't be placed in the attic for one more year, boxed up and put away for another 12 months. The work and message of Christmas continues in the routines of our daily lives. Our light has come. And it is for everyone. The light of God's love is in you. Jesus Christ is the light who guides our feet as we walk on the paths of life, who guides our decisions and our directions. Thanks be to God.